Hello, Ramley and other NFL family, especially Raiders family. I'm Pale Time, and we have a great episode of MOOF today. Episode 30. Wow, we are 30 of 32 teams uh, completed in this series. Really excited about this one. The Raiders are a fascinating team. They had an awkward entrance into the postseason last year in a game against their rival Chargers. Then they had they almost beat the Bengals in the playoffs, but then in the offseason, they had some key acquisitions. They're definitely one of the most interesting teams coming into this season. I am so excited to talk about that with my guest today. His name is Rafael. He has a great YouTube channel talking about football and the Raiders. You can subscribe. The link to his channel is in the description below. And we're going to talk to him right after this. Hello, my friend. How are you, Rafael?
I'm never. El Capitan Rafael has arrived on this, and thanks for allowing me to participate to everybody else. And of course, let's talk about it. Let's talk about the Raider Nation, and of course, there's so many things to talk about it. So I'm glad to be here.
It's absolutely. And maybe could we just start off with what are some of the things that Raiders fans are excited about and optimistic about heading into this season?
There are very good options about now because this year, not only the Raiders got the biggest fan base in the whole world, I mean the whole world, which is expanded for all countries right here, which is United States, United Kingdom, Mexico, Guatemala, there's Brazil, also there's Australia, New Zealand. And this season right here is gonna be full of surprises.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a full of surprises right here because right now I just wanted to think about it. Just like say Al Davis just win, baby, but this season right here is gonna be incredible. And just to get to know about because I'm really excited to be a Raiders fan, and for the whole nation right there, it's very optimistic to see how grow is about the Raiders fans around this season right here because their team is fully stacked. It's
Yeah.
fully stacked right here because they had so much power, not only the quarterback but also with the right receivers. But there's only one difference about it because this is the linebacker and of course the tackle, which they had to improve a little more.
Absolutely. And I see Grandizer 12 always here, thankful for you. And he loves to start us off with this question is how did you become a
Yes.
Raiders fan? And who is your all-time favorite Raiders player?
Yes, that's two questions. It's very simple because first, there's a long story about it because I'll just keep it short. First, I was born in Barquisimeto, Venezuela, which is on 93. And I came here on Charlotte, North Carolina in 2018. So I didn't know about the whole football, the American football, which is the NFL. But I'm Hispanic, which is, I speak both languages, which is English and Spanish. But how did I become the Raiders fans? Because I was getting a dilemma about those teams, who's the biggest, who's the weakest, and everything about it. So thanks for a friend that I got on job, and of course, as content creators and the Raiders fans, they teach me about the history of the Raiders, about the team of the
Oh,
decade 70s, the 80s, and of course, we can never forget about the legendary John Maiden. And my all-time favorite player, it's got to be Charles Woodson. It's got to be Charles Woodson because they have amazing power. But let's not
yeah.
forget Charles Woodson and the jerseys that I just own it. I just had one because of the Matt Crosby, which is the most selling, including Davante Adams. But I just got one Raider jerseys because I'm just collecting, well,
Yeah.
jerseys and baseball casts. But the most incredible thing that I was collecting a jersey, which is the Max Crosby, which is not the hardest one, but I just found it at a good price, but I just really loved it. And of
Yeah, nothing
course,
wrong with that.
yeah, and of course, what I'm just learning about the Raiders' history, and of course, the controversial plays, which is the talk rule, and of course, the last appearance of the Super Bowl against Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and all this kind of stuff like that, because I just learned it's something that Raiders could be fit to me. Because I know I'm from Barquisimeto, Venezuela, and I live in Charlotte, North Carolina. And of course, I'm a journalist because I understand about the sports and just a little bit of the American football, which is the NFL. But the only reason I just learned about the American football, these teams, the Raiders are the team that I was fed in love. And I
Awesome.
guarantee you, because I have no idea between the football, and I was thinking about the Raiders got the biggest fan base, and of course the legendary players, which is Charles Woodson, Ken Stable, and of course Jim Plunkett. And I was learning about the importance of the team around the decade of the 70s, the 60s, and the 80s, and of course the 90s. So it's kind of like weird, but I was just learning it one by little. And that's just the Raiders. That's the team that I was falling in love because I have had so many dilemma about choosing a team, but the Raiders got me on the first time, so I was really loved it.
That's awesome. Oh, well, thank you for sharing. We are going to get into the prediction here. So, anyone who's watching live with us now, thank you for tuning in, or if you're watching on the replay. And shout out, we got JH Sports coming in saying, yo, good to see you, JH. We are going to start things off here. So, if you're watching live with us, feel free to put a W in the chat if you think the Raiders are going to win. Put an L in the chat if you think the Raiders are going to lose. And if for some reason you think they're going to tie, even though everyone knows I do not like ties, you can pop a T in the chat and
Yes.
predict that as well. So week one, Raiders start off with quite a big game week one. You start off, you're traveling to LA to take on the division rival Los Angeles Chargers in SoFi Stadium. Win or lose, week
Yes.
one on the road. What's the prediction?
Yeah, of course, because the last game of the season regular was typically Raiders versus Chargers. But right now, season is the offense part of the major pieces because Jones was the defensive highlight for Las Vegas. But Rock Jetson and Everett will bolster the cornerback corps.
Okay.
And speaking about the secondaries, the NAP star J.C. Jackson is a free agency, but he's not going to be here. But I think it is going to be started because I will give the Raiders going to win against Chargers, which is definitely a good choice. But Chargers, they got a good quarterback, which is Justin Herbert. But Derek Carr was very superior because they have much power on the quarterback stats. So I was thinking about who is going to win against Chargers, which is I give the W.
Okay. All right. So you're predicting the Raiders win that opening week. Then you broke up for a moment there.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So the Raiders are starting off 1-0. I see Grandizer. He thinks they're going to lose that first week there, but okay, 1-0, and then the Ramley is going to be cheering on the Raiders this week. Your home opener of the season, and you are playing the Arizona Cardinals. Can the Raiders beat the Cardinals? What are your thoughts on this game, and what's your prediction?
Well, my prediction is a W because the last season the Arizona Cardinals they just went to win the streak, which is 7 wins, which nobody at the beginning of the season. But they have like a big disadvantage with DeAndre Hopkins or the suspension, and
Yeah.
of course for Kyler Murray, which is the wipeout as well. So there's just like the bottom of the connection. But Derek Carr and Davante Adams, they don't need like time to reignite the spark they have at college. Plus the likes of Hunter Renfro, Darren Waller, and Josh Jacobs, they should be able to overcome the cards. So I would say Raiders got the W against the Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, even just hearing you list all those names makes me remember, like, man, this Raiders team has a lot of talent on offense. No, and on defense as well. But you just mentioned some of the powerhouses on offense. I see Grandizer. He agrees with you. Thinks it's going to be a win for the Raiders. So 2-0, and
Yes.
then you travel to Tennessee to take on the Titans. Win, lose, thoughts on this game?
Yep. Well, for me, against Tennessee Titans, a good team, but they had outgunned for the jump, and they had to adjust in without AJ Brown, which is traded for the Eagles, which several downgrades for the passing team. But they had the morally on the newcomer, Robert Woods, and of course, it allowed to Las Vegas to focus on stopping Derrick Henry, which is one trick offense. So that's just me because right now they had to focus on stopping Derrick Henry because he's unbeatable. But they have so many stars at the wide receiver, and of course the W against Tennessee Titans.
I'm sorry, Rafael. You broke up for just a minute there. And could you repeat that your thoughts on the game and your win prediction?
Against the Tennessee Titans, I will
Yeah,
say
yeah.
the W. Yes.
W. Okay, awesome. Yeah, and yeah, I think that the Titans are due for some regression this year for
Yeah.
sure. Now, I know you're excited about this next game here. You're at home and you welcome in your division rivals with the first time ever being led by Russell Wilson. The Denver Broncos coming into town in Las Vegas. Thoughts on this game, win or lose?
Well, to be fair about it, this is gonna be like a 4 streak game because this is like
Okay.
a huge test for the early
Yeah.
season. Because I just saw the Raiders swept the Broncos in the last season, and of
Yep.
course they got Russell Wilson is now at Denver after being in Seattle Seahawks. They're just putting a quarterback away to the top spot of the division because thought that Wilson looked like they have like a go down for the 2021 season, but also in the past quarters after this move, also is working with a trio of stars with Adams. It depends all these stats between Derek Carr and Russell Wilson. But I would say the Raiders got another dub, which is a 4 streak against the Denver Broncos. So I would say
Yeah.
no, another W.
Okay. So you're starting off hot here, 4-0. I'm sure that Raiders fans would be going nuts, rising up the power rankings. But after this 4-0 start, here's your first prime time game of the year, Monday Night Football. You are traveling to visit your division rival, the Kansas City Chiefs in KC. Win, lose, thoughts on this big, huge game, week 5?
Well, it's gonna be tough.
Yeah.
Because it's hard to shaking off the Chiefs' dominance against Las Vegas last season. But the Kansas City had combined 89 points, and the Raiders got a little bit like higher than 87. But this big like the battle quarterbacks, which is the best. For this side, Patrick Mahomes with the Kansas City Chiefs and Derek Carr with the Las Vegas Raiders. But you get a benches to the Arrowhead, and they have Tyreek Hill, Tyrann Mathieu, Travis Ward, and of course Smith. And this is gonna be the first loss because let's talk about the defense. Kansas City Chiefs had good defense; they are unbeatable, And Las Vegas Raiders, they just felt that they had a good defense, but they need to improve a lot of this. Say Las Vegas Raiders got the first loss against the Chiefs. The L.
Okay. So 4-1. No shame in losing to a good team. I see Grandizer agrees with you here, but he also agreed with you when they would beat Denver.
Yeah.
And then the Raiders have a nice and early bye week in week 6. And anyone who watches this show knows that it's time for
Bye Week Hot Takes. The hottest takes on the bye week.
Yes, it's time for Bye Week Hot Takes, the part of the show where we take a little break from predicting game to game and we find 3 hot takes from all corners of the internet, Twitter, random comment sections on Reddit, and we ask our guests their opinion on these hot takes, whether they agree or disagree with them, and if they could see it happening. So the Raiders fandom, it is so easy to find hot takes about because they talk a lot.
Yes, they talk a lot about it.
And people talk about the Raiders a lot. But this first one here, I'm really interested to get to know your thoughts on it. Well, all of them, but here's the first hot take. Davante Adams will have his best season as a wide receiver in 2022 with Derek Carr. I spelled Derek Carr's name there. My apologies. Just as reference, his 2 best seasons in his career at this point, in 2018, he had 1,386 yards and 13 touchdowns. And then in 2021, he had 1,553 yards and 11 touchdowns. Do you see Davante Adams, topping those receiving yards and touchdown records at all for his own personal best?
Exactly. For me, Davante Adams, they always had it because he just grew up being a Raiders fan. But he was playing for the Green Bay Packers before trading with Aaron Rodgers. But I guess because the stats are really, really good, because Davante Adams, it's better than expected, because it's all about the defense, the red zone, and he's just gonna win this because he provided that while he's the pro receiver, because right now he's just putting on the Master Terminator mask on, and he just get dominated about it. And the duo between Derek Carr and Davante Adams sounds like the scary hours, because no one prepared, because the duo between Davante Adams and Derek Carr are really, really interesting. So for me, that's a big thing. That's a big thing because it's gonna be like numbers. Because over the last season, but right now with Davante Adams, it's gonna be like a top star, and he could take like career for the new heights. And of course, that connection was on full display, and they're gonna be those things different at the season because Adam is a light wipeout, while a Carr has been missing all the career. But as a matter of fact, the offense is gonna be better with Adams and Carr, and they could be like a forward because the offense will be defensive line, which they have different look on the Raiders. So that will be true because right now Davante Adams had the best season ever on the Raiders.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing Davante Adams.
Yes, it's not what I'm talking about is the Aaron Rodgers and and this is gonna be like extraordinary because, like I said, the duo between Davante Adams and Derek Carr, they're pure dynamite, and they're gonna be on the top spot of the best season ever.
Definitely, yeah. Well, so again, really looking forward to seeing Davante Adams. Our second hot take here, and I was, this hot take here, it surprised me a little bit, but when I thought about it, I was like, you know what? Maybe. So I'm curious on your take. Max Crosby will lead the NFL in sacks this season. What do you think?
Max Crosby is going to be second this season. I think if you take it about the career right here and how impressive of Max Crosby, because he's the best at he's due about now, he's gonna be like at his best finest. Because and
Yep.
of course they have the great power, and for me, it's very important. And that edge rusher, he's fired up, and he made like fundamental changes, and he became a lot of things that are like bigger role at the field. Because if you look at the stats right here over the last season right there, I think it's mind blowing. Because
Yeah.
comparing about Max Crosby this season is between Khalil Mack 2016 season. Because basically, it's not being amount of the leader of sacks, but he's one of the more consistent about this year, and he has a very look at defensive player of the candidate. So, but this year is gonna be different. But comparing about the stats on the Max Crosby of 2021 along with Khalil Mack in 2016 was definitely 9 games remaining. And he gives 5 sacks, 21 tackles, 5 tackles. But Max Crosby has been powerful. His pass rush probably has been spectacular. And among the stats right here, he's been consistently as the leader on sacks. And it's basically you had to be careful about the other candidates right here, which is Aaron Donald, TJ Watt, and of course Raymond Diggs. But Max Crosby is gonna pass this. Max Crosby has another level of power that nobody does. Nobody does
And
about
and,
it because he's at
and
the
yeah.
yes.
I just have to I also think something that's interesting is the Raiders play a lot of pass happy offenses, so I think he's going to have even more of an opportunity to get sacks than maybe some of the other premier pass rushers in the NFL.
Yeah, exactly. But for me, he's a top 10 transit defender. And he continues to impress and earn some notable accolades. And for me, Crosby is going to be the best. And those stats don't lie because the Raiders got a special talent on their hands. And Max Crosby is really perfect because he was chosen at the 4th round of the 2019 draft and been on the slam dunk. But I think this is going to be the great year for Max Crosby, and he will lead on the Saturday season because it's going to be shock. It's going to be shock to everybody else.
Absolutely, absolutely. Rafael, we have one more hot take, but just before we do, I'm just gonna ask,
Yeah.
I just because you keep freezing up, and I see Grandizer are telling us here. Could you just, I find sometimes it helps when you leave and then come back. Do you mind just trying that just to see if we can get a little more consistent stream?
Yes, because sometimes I can do it.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. I'll take a few comments here while we're waiting for you to come back into the show. But yeah, if you could, please.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, I just. Mhm.
Okay. All right. So Rafael, he'll be right back. He's just gonna exit and come back in here. Let's see here. Yeah, he'll be back in a moment. Let's take a couple of your Diego. Hello, good to see you. You're I have no doubt that you're, as a Broncos fan, are just as hype as Rafael is for the Raiders. CG, shout out to you. You think TJ Watt and Nick Bosa will be good this year? Absolutely. Okay, let's bring Rafael
All
back in.
right. Yes.
Hello. Oh, your image is looking so much more crisp now. I think we're good.
Yes, very good. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, we got one more hot take here. And this one is controversial, but it did come from a Raiders fan.
Yep.
The Raiders will regret hiring Josh McDaniels. So I know there's this stigma around former Patriots and Bill Belichick disciple coaches. What are your thoughts? When Josh McDaniel got hired, were you a fan of this hiring? And do you see why the Raiders fandom might be hesitant to accept him as their new head coach?
For me, the coach Josh McDaniels is a good option.
Okay.
Because right now it's a good sign for the defense and of course the quarterback and of course the whole organization. But I don't think that they're gonna regret about Josh McDaniels because he's a former New England Patriots and he had this awesome ideas because he just brought up Patrick Graham of the practice right here as a defensive coordinator. But I think that's a good sign about it because he had to spot on because he's not really concerned about the absence of Darren Waller. And of course, they just find a brand new division. But I will say this because they're adapting like a good thing right here because they're not going to regret it. So just look at the process of rebuilding a team because we're not going to let this nightmare come out of the 2021 season of Las Vegas Raiders.
Yeah.
But in my opinion, right here with this new regime of Josh McDaniels and Dave Ziegler, it's good. It's a good person, but he has so many things to prove about it. And that year is going to be like rebuilding that team along with Josh McDaniels. And for me, it's very excited to see a former New England Patriot doing this whole thing. But I will say this about it because Josh McDaniels had his hand in his pocket, which is the power, the intensity, and of course supporting the whole talents.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, I'm excited to see how it goes. I know that Broncos fans always are salty at Josh McDaniel and for his time there, and so I think that adds another fun storyline to the Broncos Raiders rivalry. But this has been
Bye Week Hot Takes, the hottest takes on the bye week.
And that was bye week hot takes. So before coming into the hot takes here, you had the Raiders starting off 4-1. You just had them have a tough loss to your division rival, the Chiefs. And now off the bye week, you are at home and you welcome in the Houston Texans. Any concerns about this game?
Against Houston Texans, they should have like a little problems because they will come for a flash after.
Oh, Rafael, I think we've lost you again. Let's see. Oh, no, I'm sorry, folks. We are having some technical difficulties here. Yeah, if Rafael, I don't know if you can hear me, but if you can, maybe try leaving and come back in again. Oh, the joys of live streaming. Diego. Oh man. Okay. Oh, you're back. Oh, awesome. Okay.
Yes, yes. I was gonna say that they got a W against Houston Texans, and sometimes this internet is it's keeping crazy, but it happens.
Hey, I totally get it, man. The same thing has happened to me multiple times. Yeah, no worries. I'm just glad that you're here, and we are going to persist. We are going to do this. So 5-1. I see. I see Grandizer. He agrees with that. And CG, we'll take that question at the end of the episode here, just so we can keep going. So. Then you got a 2-game road skid coming up, and you're traveling on the road to New Orleans to take on the Saints. Thoughts on this game, win or lose?
Against the New Orleans Saints, they have like the both sides of the ball at the secondary were through a loss of Marco Williams by adding Marcus May and Matthew for the free agency. But it remains at the quarterback. Of
Mhm.
course, James Winston. He's becoming like a major injury, and there's not like the blistering 2021 start. But if the offense had all the talent for to give the Raiders fits, and the New Orleans like could be like enough of this as a deciding factor, because that factor is right here for the defense. So I will say Raiders got the L against New Orleans Saints.
Okay, interesting. Okay, I see Grant Iser here is agreeing with you on that. Yeah, the Saints, their defense will keep them in games. That's for sure. That's for sure. Then you travel to Jacksonville to take on the Jaguars. Jacksonville's getting a little bit of hype this offseason. Do, do you have any concerns about them, or do you think that the Raiders just they're not on not on the Jaguars are not on the Raiders level right now?
Well, for me, the defense and of course the quarterback of the Jacksonville Jaguars, maybe there's not good, so that will be easy about it. But last season, the Jacksonville Jaguars, they just figured it out to be competitive, I believe, some weeks over the season because they have some changes about the coach. But that shouldn't be like an issue for the Raiders, who are about to finally at the 5,100 here. So I would say the Raiders got the W against the Jaguars
Okay.
because Trevor Lawrence it didn't have come to a great season, and of course there's be a lot of changes of coaching and the offensive line. So Raiders got the W against Jaguars, which is it depends the offense.
Okay, awesome. I see. We got you got Grandizer and CG agree with you. Willie, good to see you. Okay, so that's another win there against the Jaguars, and so that has you at. I just want to double check here. That's
Mhm.
7-2, and then you are home and you welcome in the Indianapolis Colts. Win or lose, thoughts on this game?
For the Indianapolis Colts, they're just looking like some revenge after the happened with the last season defeat. Because right now they had a new quarterback, which is Matt Ryan, and the Colts didn't improve about the right receiver, but they just seem like that underwhelming group of this year with Jonathan Taylor as leader of the backfield. But the whole around it about the offense too, it should be open to push Albert another top close battle, which is very tough. So I will say the Raiders got the W against Colts by by minimal about it. So I will
Okay.
say the Raiders got the W against the Colts because it's all about the defense and of course the right receiver, which is really tough to beat.
Absolutely. Okay, that's a big win for the Raiders. And I was wrong in my math before,
Mhm.
but I am correct now. You are now predicting 7-2, and then you travel to Denver to take on the Broncos for the second time. You predicted the Raiders to beat them earlier in the year. Are you predicting a sweep of the Denver Broncos?
Some fans that want to another like 2-0 record against the Broncos, but it's really hard to see about that because the quarterback Russell Wilson they had to adjust to his new home by week 11, but they're gonna make sure that the fans of the hands. So the Broncos have like a plenty of shoes that are about to avoid this season sweep. So I will say the Raiders got another L against Broncos. So it'll be like the series gonna be like 1-1.
Okay, a split. Okay, yeah, split with Denver.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, nothing. So that's 7-3 on your prediction, and then the Ram fans are going to be cheering you on again. You are traveling to Seattle to take on the Seahawks. Win or lose in Seattle.
For me, for the Seattle Seahawks, like I said before, it's all about the offense and the defensive. But they're like a battle between Shu out the top spot with the Drew Lock or Gino Smith on the center. But There's gonna be like a blowout, and I will say Raiders got the W against the Seahawks.
That's what we like to hear. And yeah,
Yeah.
everyone's agreeing with you in the chat here. Okay, so that's 8-3, a great record at this point in the season. And then you are home and you welcome in the Los Angeles Chargers for the second time this year. You predicted a win earlier. Are you predicting a split or do you think you're going to sweep the Chargers? Oh,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Oh, sorry, Rafael, we lost you for a sec there. Yeah. Are you predicting a split?
A split it about Los Angeles Chargers?
Yeah.
Well,
do you think?
For me, like a tough challenge of this, like the pleasure fair works because they both are fighting for the playoff seeding about this year. So like the 10th division clash. So I will say the Raiders gonna sweep the Chargers because it's much weaker that the Raiders can handle this one. But they just learned about how this fully revenge with Adams full injury having to offense right now. So I was gonna say the Raiders they're gonna have another W against the Chargers. So it's gonna be sweep.
Okay, wow. I see Grandizer agrees with you. I think Diego is predicting an L there. He did predict a tie against the Seahawks. And then wow, okay, yeah, split with Chargers. That'd be a huge win for the Chargers late in the season there. So 9-3, and then you have a short week, and you're traveling to the most beautiful stadium in the world, SoFi Stadium, to take on the defending Super Bowl champions, the Los Angeles Rams. And again, know that this channel covers the Rams, but we respect all opinions here. What is your prediction and thoughts on this game on Thursday night primetime?
I mean, against Los Angeles Rams, which is the defending Super Bowl champions, it's about the quarterback and, of course, the defense right here. So the Rams light pass also figured it out like a nightmare for Las Vegas, which is the average offensive line. So I will say the Raiders got the L against Los Angeles Rams because it all depends of the elite quarterback, the right receiver, which is Copper Coop, and of course the offensive one, which is incredibly insane because it'll be like a tough challenge right here. Mm-hmm. So I would say the Raiders got the L against Rams, which is totally fair.
Which reminds me, if you are a Rams fan, make sure to like and subscribe to Rafael.
Yes,
just kidding. But well, I'm not kidding. Everyone should go subscribe to Rafael. But anyway, appreciate that. The Ramley will be excited there. And so you're predicting 9-4 going into Week 15, and you welcome the New England Patriots in primetime Sunday Night Football. Win or lose, thoughts on this game?
Oh, this is gonna be like everyone's favorite because it's all about the new regime had to circle on the calendars, and they have Dave Ziegler, Josh McDaniels become for the New England this offseason. Yeah. So there's like old faces right here because it's all about Derek Carr versus Matt Jones, and the offense we should be very happy about a win there. So if it is happening like in 2001 where they had the top rule where Tom Brady was there. So I think it's going to be like, this is going to win that about because this sounds like a perfectly revenge because there's some old faces right here. So I will say the Raiders got the W against the Patriots.
Okay, that's a big win, but I like it. And yeah, that'll be such an interesting storyline with Josh McDaniels versus Bill Belichick. Very cool. Grandizer is predicting a tie. Every episode, Grandizer predicts at least one tie. Diego is predicting his second tie of this episode. He doesn't like either of them. That's that's really fun. Okay, so 10-4 after 15 weeks, and then your final road game of the regular season. You're traveling to Pittsburgh to take on the Steelers. This could be a really interesting game. It is a Saturday night prime time game. Win or lose, thoughts on this game?
Because the Pittsburgh Steelers got to bounce back defensively this year, but it just turned out that, well, years later at the 70s, because I remember that game, because I just watched the whole history around here, because they had the controversial game between Pittsburgh Steelers versus Raiders, which is a playoff, but they're really expected about because it's a major question mark. The offense is really good for Las Vegas Raiders, but Steelers don't. And they might be the year for Kenny Pickett to show out that he's going to be struggling, but I will say the Raiders got the W against the Steelers because Las Vegas Raiders got the better defense right here, among with the edge, the rush passers, and the quarterback, which is Kenny Pickett doesn't have a good time at the Pittsburgh Steelers, so it might be they cut a little, but I will say the Raiders got the W against Steelers.
Okay, all right, that's okay. That's a 11-4 on your prediction, and now the Ram fans are going to be cheering you on again. You welcome in the San Francisco 49ers in Week 17. Thoughts on this game, win or lose?
It's going to be rivals right there because the 49ers has shown the true power, everything about the last season, because they just won against Dallas Cowboys in the playoff. And that would be like a contender once again, especially about Trey Lance and Jimmy Garoppolo, because those potential Lancer abilities to make it his possession. And for Kyle Shanahan has a privilege that despite the quarterback mediocrity, has to be the top defense, making the whole nightmare. So I'm just going to say the Raiders got the L against 49ers because it's talking about the defense. And of course, Jimmy Garoppolo and Trey Lance. Because they're among the biggest rivals right there about the state of California. But I will say this. The Raiders got a really good defense, and of course, they had the best defense at the quarterback and Davante Adams. But if you look at the last year at the San Francisco Niners, nobody can beat them. So I will say the Raiders got the L against 49ers.
Okay, yeah, we see a couple people in the chat agreeing with you and Diego and CG here. Grandizer is predicting a win there, so that's interesting.
Yeah,
so then so far you're 11-5 on your prediction. I think Raiders fans would be really excited about that. And then Week 18, you welcome in your division rival, the Kansas City Chiefs, for the second time you're playing them on the year. You predicted a loss the first time. What are you predicting this time? Is it going to be a sweep by the Chiefs?
Well, at the last, because they had a loss against the Chiefs, but if the record doesn't have a hit for 2022 following the personal losses, they could be fighting the playoffs here.
Yeah.
And of course, we're talking about the Patrick Mahomes team with its back up against the wall, which is a perfect scenario. So they're going to be split. They're going to be split because Raiders got the W against Chiefs. But it's going to be split. First, at the series, it's going to be 1-1. And of course, it's really tough at the first game against Chiefs. But at the second one, we're going to win. And the prime table is going to position it about they have no tons of meaning for the Raiders' offensive line and, of course, defense. For me, the Raiders at the last game of the season right here, they have the W against the Chiefs, which is 1-1.
Okay. Well, that is a 12-5 record you are predicting. No doubt the Raiders would be in the playoffs with that record and contending for the division title. And yeah, I think that there's so many great games on the Raiders schedule. Raiders fans are going to be spoiled with some good football next year, which is exciting. If you're watching live, feel free to put your season prediction for the Raiders in the chat. While that's happening, I will. CG asked this question earlier. I'd love to get your thoughts on. He said he heard a rumor the Raiders will cut Alex Leatherwood. Do you know of anything about this, Rafael?
Yes, about the Alexander Leatherwood, because they have two options: moving him to the guard or cutting him. Because for me, I will cut him, because if I was a coach or the manager, I will cut him because he has a fully guaranteed contract through 2024. But they have to pay some to money to find it like a trade, and if they cut, they're gonna send him out to the Dallas Cowboys. But over this last performance right here, because it's been cut and someone said trade, and it didn't work with the running back Kenyon Drake. So I will say their options are really on the table. And those tables right here is moving to the guard or release. But in my opinion right here, this is going to be like a release. Because he's been falling behind the running tackle, and people with knowledge about the Raiders thinking about the subjects and about the table, about the former Alabama stand-up. And has like the fair chance to earn a starting role at the right tackle, but he was falling up behind Brandon Parker, Tony Mumford, and Jermaine Eleanor during the training camp. So he really can say for the Raiders' first training camp under Josh McDaniels. And it was like the full steam of the most anticipated Raiders in decades. But it's now a new defense, and the offense feels hot. And it doesn't mean to stay that just because it crossed the finish line of the training camp. So Judge Daniels says there's definitely a process involved here. But Alex Leatherwood is going to be cut, because for me, it's just like the body hands between Brandon Parker, because it didn't have the working indication, and they're not quiet yet. That's kind of getting close. But if McDaniels say we're going to have to start where we are, they have the cut on Alex Leatherwood, because over the last performance, it didn't so well, and they have like some issues right here. But I will say they're going to cut him.
Okay. Yeah, well, that's definitely something to monitor here. A couple of predictions in the chat. Diego is predicting the Raiders go 8-9. Grandizer's predicting 10-6-1 and playoff bound.
Yes.
And then Grandizer has a non-football question for you. Is will you cover Venezuela in the FIFA World Cup in 2022?
Well, Venezuela is not qualified to the FIFA World Cup, which is soccer, in 2022. But I think for the next 4 years, it's going to be qualified. Because under the new rules of the soccer, the FIFA, and of course, I'm going to cover off all these games, well, almost all these games, because they had to push up to November, to December. So it might be like a good surprise to cover up these games while I'm home right here, because I had a job and of course a family. So it kind of like sounds like with agenda for that. And I will cover some of these games that I really like it about the FIFA World Cup. And they're gonna make it, but it defines for the qualifier, because it didn't make it for the qualifiers. But I guarantee you, for the over next 4 years, if it's gonna be like a change, they had to qualify to the FIFA World Cup, so it's gonna be interesting.
For sure, yeah. I'm a Canadian, so for the first time, like in forever, Canada has made the FIFA World Cup this year.
Yes.
So I'm excited about that.
Yep. Yes.
Rafa, this has been a ton of fun. I appreciate you coming on here. We're going to end the episode. But where can people find you? I know the link to your channel is in the description below, but what kind of stuff do you do on your channel?
Right now, my YouTube channel is Rafael Chacín, which is El Capitan. And of course, get ready for this because right now, tonight at late night, I have a show called Silver and Black Experience, which I guarantee you there's gonna be like a great invitation for the Raiders fans. We can chat with us. You can join for the panel right here. We can talk about what's going on with the Raiders, the last game, and of course the news and rumors, and some historical facts about the team with the decades. And for me, it's gonna be interesting, and I hope this is gonna be the best. And thanks for having me on this right here. So you can follow me on Twitter or Instagram as Capitan Rafucho, which is the site right here, Captain Rafucho on Twitter or Instagram. And of course, you can subscribe me on YouTube as Rafael Chacin. And of course, as latest videos, it goes to, well, the Silver and Black Experience, and of course, wrestling. And of course, I'm on my way to 500 subscribers right here because I got more than 200 subscribers. So don't forget, hit the like button and of course subscribe with your host with El Capitan Rafael. So there you go.
And Diego says he's gonna follow you just to talk smack.
Okay. Yes.
That's funny. Well, thank you so much for coming on. Stick around, Rafael. We'll chat just afterwards. And for all of you tuning in, thank you for coming into another episode of MOOF. Our next episode will be tomorrow. It'll be episode 31. We are going to be talking about the Cleveland Browns, which should be another interesting episode. So tune in tomorrow. Make sure to turn on bell notifications to be notified of the time. Have a great night, everyone. We'll see you in the next episode of MOOF.